everyone, thanks for clicking on the video. We are Access Hockey. I'm Janae and this is Rachel, and we talk hockey. That is literally what we do. And so today is going to be no different. We're going to talk about the recent Grand Rapids Griffins roster moves. There's going to be a lot more in the future, but we're going to talk about, I think it ends up being 6 guys that have recently had, in the last, I would say, off-season, been signed to an entry-level contract for the Red Wings. We expect them to be in Grand Rapids. Of course, that can all change, but we're actually kind of hoping that they are as well, so we can watch them grow a little bit more before they go up to the big house.
We don't want to miss the boat.
Yeah, so we're going to get into it. We're just talking, like I said, about 6 guys, and we're going to kind of go over like what we think the team's going to look like, as well as some surprising transactions that we're maybe not super happy with, but we're going to talk about those at the end. So let's get into it.
Okay, so we should mention that these guys are prospects, so not just like your regular AHL dudes.
Oh yeah, because there's a ton. There's so many transactions that happened.
Yeah,
so many.
This last couple months, there's been too many to keep track of. Really. Yeah. So these are just drafted prospects. So I'm just gonna. You're welcome.
That was a great distinction.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you. I distinct things. That's my job.
Things are distinct.
That's right. So I'm going to run down the list real quick, and we'll break them down as, afterwards. So we've got Marco Kasper, drafted this year. Everyone should know that name at this point in time. Simon Edvinsson was a 2021 draft. Cross Hanas was a 2020 draft. Albert Johansson, 2019. Elmer Soderblom, 2019. And Eemil Viro, 2020.
I had slipped that in there at the finish, huh?
I have to work on rolling my R's. So all these kids obviously drafted within the last couple seasons. These are all ones that have been signed to ELC, so entry-level contracts that are taking effect this season.
Yeah.
There's an even split, though, too, in all of them between forwards and defensemen. It's 3 and 3, so pretty interesting to take a look at that, too, and what that would suggest for the team.
Yeah, well. And all of these guys were also part of the recent development camp that happened in Detroit this past month. I believe it was, well, it's still July. It was earlier this July. All these guys got together, plus a boatload of other guys, to basically show their stuff and to compete for, spots in Grand Rapids, spots in Detroit. So these guys, like I said before, are signed entry-level contracts, which basically means that we're thinking they're probably going to go Grand Rapids first. Some of these guys could make the jump during the season to the Red Wings, of course. That's ideally like what the development process is supposed to look like.
We want them to make a jump.
Yeah, the surprise would probably be if Kasper made a jump really fast, and just because I want to see what he does. But then again, he could just go right away. Yeah. You just don't know.
It's really hard to predict lately. And I think out of all these guys, too, and another distinction that's important to make is that these guys were assigned to ELCs through Detroit, meaning they have two-way contracts. So they can be Grand Rapids, they can be Detroit. There's also the 10-game rule, which could take effect, especially if they decide they want to pull Kasper up. If you do 10 games pro, you stay there. Your contract's in Detroit. That's how that works. So there's a lot of big question marks around all of these guys, especially considering, Kasper's the most recent draftee, but all the other ones have been developing in mostly professional leagues.
It's important not to forget the other guys who are also vying for spots. So Kasper is the most recent one, so the one everybody's like, he's going to be Red Wings. He's going to go to Detroit right away.
We knew it all along.
I would think that they would be looking, not so much that the draft year is that important to where, 2019, he's been in the system longer, though. So that in my head would be like, okay, let's see where Johansson is, because he was 2019, and where Soderblom is. Let's see how they do. And I think that's something, based on what we see here, and these guys that we expect to be in Grand Rapids, this is going to be a young,
very young,
skilled team. And it's going to be fun to watch them, but it's also going to be a huge competitive atmosphere, or it should be at least. I think they have to open the gate very competitive with, each other as far as, like, they're all vying for spots on the Red Wings, but also competitive in the league, getting there, doing their job, winning games, showing their stuff, points and all that stuff that goes through gameplay, ability. That's all going to be very important to show very quickly, because I think that the Red Wings, they want to pull fast, as fast as they can, because they want to get these guys developing in Detroit if they can, I think.
And I think, too, with these, it is going to be very young, of course. It's an average age between these guys of like 20.
Which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's super young, super fresh, but you can't forget as well we have a lot of veteran guys, and they are also fighting with some of them who have been extended on contracts, or they also have two ways. So they're also fighting with very weathered men who have been in this league for a long time. So that's where hopefully we'll see the compete level kind of amp it up a little bit. But I think with all of these, a characteristic that they all share that's going to really impact Grand Rapids is the fact they are all intensely competitive, probably more so than I've seen in
And like you said, they've been developing in professional leagues up until this point.
They've all got points to prove, and they want to do it right away.
Yeah.
So like Griffins this year, with this little batch of guys, it's going to be...
This is a small look.
It's going to, it's going to be very, I think, very feisty, very spunky. There's a lot of Europeans coming, so very, like Janae said, skilled. We've got a couple big bodies coming as well, so hopefully that'll bring in that really physical defensive side of things that we were hoping for.
Yeah, and expectations as far as not fan expectations, but what this team has to go in with is, I think, going to be a very intentional, competitive edge. Yeah. Like these guys are all expected to be very skilled and very good. So if they come out and they kind of deflate, and if they come out and they're not showing themselves to be the players that they are, I think that would kind of be a damper on expectations, because I have big expectations for the team that I think is going to be this season, and I think it's very important that they come out very strong. Last season, it wasn't great. It was very up and down. We didn't even make the playoffs.
It was tough. It was a very tough season.
We didn't make the playoffs. The team wasn't all the way there. There's a lot of contracts, a lot of trouble with just getting guys. You know, we had a lot of Toledo guys. It was up and down. So this team, I think they have to temper their expectations as far as like, they can't let that get into their head. They got to go out there and do. But if they go out there and do their best, and if they go out there and play to the skill level that they have, they're going to be a good competitive team.
Right. And like Janae had mentioned.
And what the league needs, I think. Because like if you saw Chicago, who won the Calder Cup this last season, they were a very high skill,
very fast,
very good team. And it's like you got to keep up with that, because that's
the expectation. That is the level that you need to be, and you need to exceed that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these kids have been playing over in the SHL. Most of them are Swedish, so they've been playing at that level of grown men, but it is faster here. So like Janae had mentioned, you know, the fans, they have a different overview, a different expectation. We want them to be excited about this team. I mean, the fans do make an impact. It does make a difference on the ice for the guys. And they say
Grand
it all
Rapids
the time.
We keep hearing it's one of the best places to play.
They're just a bunch of psychos, but it's great because the team needs that.
Yeah.
But for these guys as well, they need to hold themselves to excellence in order to impress the brass, because there are a lot of other players in the pipeline that they are fighting against. So just kind of making sure their expectations are realistic, but they're shooting beyond that. You know, they don't want to be here in Grand Rapids long term.
Yeah, they want to be Detroit. They want to be NHL, and we want them to be too. Because what's the point of having all these guys developing if none of them go to the Red Wings and help win cups or help win any sort of playoff or help win games at all?
I would love it if we just absolutely dominated Chicago this year.
That'd be great. Well, the thing is, teams change.
Like if we lost every game except the ones against Chicago, I think I'd be happy.
This team of ours is going to be already so different than the last team, and I think Chicago's going to have the same thing. So much moves in the offseason, you hardly have the same teams from year to year. So that being said, who of these guys that we mentioned now are you most excited to see and maybe expect the most from?
I expect the most from Soderblom. He's been one that since we've drafted him, he caught my eye mostly because of his size. When we drafted him, the kid was 6'6", 6'7". He's a huge body, and so normally for me, and I think for you too, it's like, but can he move? You know, because those big bodies, it's like if you can just stand there and people run into you and you fall, great, but can you do other things? Yeah. And over the last couple seasons in the SHL, his skating has dramatically improved.
From one prospects tournament to the next in Traverse City, it's been worlds different.
It's been a night and day difference, and so I think he's shown his capacity to learn and excel. So I'm really interested to see how he adapts here in the U.S. with that. And I think he's got a good attitude. He's very much a leader. So it's gonna be nice to see that. And he's one of the older ones as well.
Yeah, one of the ones that might be looked at first, if you will, just because it's like I don't think it's kind of because they were drafted earlier, because you have to have a real life discussion of, okay, where's his development going? Yep. And do we need to move on from this kid?
Is he
because
moving
he's been in the
to?
system for 3 years, 3 seasons. So okay, where do we go from here? We need to make a decision, that kind of thing. Because if you hold on to too many contracts, you're just holding on to contracts. Right. Then the cap gets there, and it's like,
you know. But he's definitely the one.
Yeah, I would think, for me, it's Cross Hanas. I noticed him at the Prospects Tournament after he was drafted, because he was drafted in 2020, and we went to the Prospects Tournament
it was that year.
Yeah, it was that year. I'm trying to think of when things shut down, because then the thing didn't happen, right? Or did it happen?
It happened, but it was very restricted.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was
anything from like 2020, 2021.
Oh, boy.
I can't remember anything. But anyway, Hanas came out very fiery as a spitball. He's very talented. He's very creative with the puck. He's got a lot of grit. He's got a lot of tenacity, and I really enjoy seeing that in a player. Yeah. Just a really gritty kind of get in your face,
almost like a Dom Shine.
Kind of, yeah. And he's got great skating ability. He was with the WHL. I think the Portland Winterhawks is where he was in the last season, and he had more points than games, so that's always a good sign.
That's a win.
And he was in the playoffs as well. You know, with his team helping them get forward as well. And I don't know. I think that he has the spirit of the Griffins right now.
Wait, you're telling me you're not the most excited about Kasper?
I would like to see
Unbelievable.
You know, that is funny that neither of us chose the
jabbing at people now, but it's just,
I mean,
sorry guys.
We're both excited for Kasper,
yeah,
I think.
for sure.
Just because it's exciting to see new guys get drafted and to see them in the system. I am looking forward to seeing I think he's got a very high expectation, because Raymond came right from draft and was sent up, you know, and I think everybody's got that in their head.
Let us not forget Zadina.
Yeah, and that it just sometimes, I don't know, it doesn't work like that. I want to see him come out of the gate hot.
Sure.
I want to see him just crush it.
If he ever sees this, let our slight doubts be your motivation to prove us wrong.
Prove us wrong.
Those two
we're
girls
the important ones.
It's like you need to impress me.
Yeah, us. So with all this being said, we did kind of want to wrap it up with a couple contracts that we're surprised weren't extended, just because we love them.
It kind of crushed my soul a little bit.
So one guy that wasn't extended was Turner Elson, and another one would be Calvin Pickard. Those two are probably the biggest ones to me. I mean, Dan Renouf isn't coming back either, and there's, I think, Riley Barber isn't coming back, but
Jan
these two particularly hurt me. I mean, Elson's been with us since 2017.
Yeah,
and we've talked about him so often. He deserves NHL. He's such a good player. He's got such a good attitude, and he's going to New York. So if he can, if he can get there, and if he can get NHL, and that would be amazing. But we're gonna miss him.
Definitely, yeah.
We're so gonna miss him. And then Calvin Pickard was a huge shock, just because he's amazing. But we have so many goalies that are coming through, but we did sign someone else, so like, why didn't you just keep Pickard? It's confusing.
It is very confusing. Maybe Picks just wanted some fresh scenery or something, but
maybe
he
did go to Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean, Canada's home for him.
Yeah,
so
maybe it was like a I want to go home type deal. We're pretty close though,
a little like closer, he could have stayed. Home. It's a different province, but whatever. But yeah, these are two guys that we were really, really sad to see that pop up, that they were not being signed.
It was the saddest thing since Joey Hickett's went to Iowa. That was probably
and I'm still in therapy for that one.
I still have to deal with that every game, so it's a little difficult.
Yeah, but of course we wish them all the best, but we do wish we had a say in whose contracts got renewed.
Although, like I said, these guys weren't going to be NHL. From the looks, like, this is a clear sign to me they weren't going to go Detroit. If they were, they would have before, getting sent somewhere else. So if they can make NHL, that's the goal of these guys. That's what the AHL, that's what they want.
I think Turk can do it.
Oh yeah,
Turk can and should. Picks, I think he's just an even keel guy.
I think he could
He's cool with. He could. I think
he had some important games with Detroit when our two goalies were awful.
Yeah, we get into that. But yeah, sorry guys, we're sad you're gone.
Yeah, that'd be great if we could have kept them forever.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, basically wrapping all this up, we're really excited for the team that we're going to see this coming year. Again, these guys, they have two-way contracts. They might go GR, they might go Red Wings, but I kind of expect them all to start GR.
No more after camp.
And I was going to say, there's prospect camp in Traverse City, as well as development camp, and that's really where rosters get decided, is when those players come out, because sometimes they might not even be on the radar of the Red Wings, and then they show up in a big way at camp, and then Stevie makes the call, put those guys out there, and the coaches go, okay.
Our new coach that looks like Gru.
But yeah, so we're excited. Let us know in the comments what you think about these guys that we mentioned. and maybe another signing that you are excited about that you've seen so far. We're going to go into a little bit more detail next week with some guys that are returning that have been with us. And a few other things. We're going to talk about the Red Wings roster. We got a lot of stuff coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. Share this video with all your friends. Like, comment, subscribe. Didn't say that in the beginning, but that's okay.
Ding, 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 ding.
Do those things, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.